In 2018, a former Cisco engineer logged into company infrastructure using credentials he still had access to, 5 months after handing in his resignation. He deleted 456 virtual machines running WebEx Teams, a collaboration platform used by thousands of customers. The damage cost over $2 million to repair. More than 16,000 accounts went offline for up to 2 weeks. And the person who caused it was not a hacker operating from a foreign country. He had worked there. He had been trusted. He had known exactly where to hit. This is what an insider threat looks like. An insider threat is any risk to an organization that originates from someone who has legitimate access to its systems, data, or facilities. That includes current employees, former employees whose access was never revoked, contractors, and business partners. The defining feature is not malice. It is access. Insider threats fall into 3 categories, and each works differently. The first is the malicious insider. This is the person who causes harm intentionally, stealing intellectual property before joining a competitor, committing financial fraud using privileged database access, sabotaging infrastructure out of resentment or in exchange for payment. The Cisco case fits here. So does the Tesla engineer who copied 26,000 confidential files on autonomous driving before taking a role at a rival company. Malicious insiders know where the data lives. They understand which systems are monitored and which are not. They can move slowly, extracting a small amount at a time over months, and never trigger a single automated alert. The second type is the negligent insider. This person causes harm without intending to. They click a phishing link and hand attackers their credentials. They email a confidential document to the wrong recipient. They reuse a weak password across work accounts and a personal site that gets breached. A 2022 Pullman Institute study found that negligent insiders account for more than half of all insider threat incidents. Not malice, just inattention, under pressure, in an environment that did not make the right path easy. The third is the compromised insider. This is an employee whose account has been taken over by an external attacker. The organization sees legitimate credentials making requests. Nothing flags as unauthorized. But the person behind those credentials is not who the system believes. External attackers specifically target employees with elevated access, such as system administrators or finance staff, because a compromised account at that level opens far more doors than a perimeter breach alone. What makes insider threats significantly harder to detect than external attacks is the starting position. External attackers begin outside the perimeter and must find a way in. Every action they take is in some sense anomalous. Insiders begin inside. Their access is authorized. Their activity looks like work. When a database administrator runs a query that returns millions of records, no alarm fires. That is what database administrators do. The difference between legitimate work and a slow data exfiltration can be a matter of frequency, volume, and destination, details that require deliberate monitoring to catch. There is also a social dimension. Organizations are slower to suspect people they know. There is a real cost to flagging a trusted colleague. That instinct is human, and attackers who understand it exploit it deliberately. The financial damage is measurable. The same 2022 Pullman study put the average annual cost of insider threat incidents at $15.4 million per affected organization. That figure covers investigation, legal exposure, regulatory fines, and lost productivity. For incidents involving intentional theft of intellectual property, the reputational damage can outlast the financial one. Detection and prevention require a different approach than the tools built for external threats. Least privilege is the foundation. Every person in the organization should have access only to what their role specifically requires. Reducing the blast radius of any single account limits the potential damage of any single insider, malicious or compromised. User and Entity Behavior Analytics, commonly called UEBA, establishes a behavioral baseline for every account. What systems they access, when, from where, how much data they move. Deviations from that baseline generate alerts. A payroll administrator downloading 40,000 customer records at 11 p.m. is worth investigating regardless of whether their credentials are valid. Data loss prevention tools monitor outbound data movement and can flag large transfers to personal email, unauthorized USB activity, or uploads to external storage. Offboarding is a gap many organizations underestimate. When an employee leaves, access revocation must happen immediately, not at the end of a business cycle. The Cisco case turned entirely on retained credentials. That failure was procedural, not technical. Culture also matters. Employees who feel they can raise concerns without retaliation are more likely to report suspicious behavior they observe in colleagues. The organizations that catch insider threats early are often the ones that made it safe to say something. The insider is not always the villain, but the access they hold, whether used deliberately, carelessly, or without their knowledge, is a real and measurable risk. Understanding that risk is the first step toward managing it. If you are someone who wants to understand how the digital world actually works, hit subscribe. We break down the concepts behind the headlines every week. CyFlicks. Digital mysteries. Real stories.